Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is Kingdom Hearts 2. This is my critical mode walkthrough. We're moving on now through Twilight Town into these little events where we have to compete with our friends, compete with a few legends from the Final Fantasy series, and then we're going to be taken into a combat encounter against nobodies and a boss fight with Axel, and there are no checkpoints, guys, which is a little disappointing. But I'm not going to dwell too much on it. This is, for all intents and purposes, a pretty old game, back when checkpoints weren't as lenient as they are now, and it seems like a trend in the high-definition collections of just not changing them to make them a little bit more modern. I don't really understand it too much, but in these competitions, all you have to do is beat balloons out of your opponent and pick them up. If you pick all of them up, you will end the fight. If you have more than them at the end of the time limit, you'll end the fight and win. If they kill you, it'll end the fight. So for some strange reason, these kind of rubber bats or whatever they are, these waffle bats, kill. You can't kill them, but they can kill you. So this is where the checkpoint is, folks, and the next 3 fights are all off the same checkpoint. Vivi's a little bit more tricky than the last guy, but you can exploit his predictable pattern and get a couple of guards off on him. I don't really like the guard on this game, I never have. And it's something that I think they drastically improved in Birth by Sleep, and they made it a legitimately awesome mechanic. But in this, it was still tentative, and just there's too much startup on it. It doesn't last as long as you think it would, and it means that you have to do it so preemptively. It's not very responsive and fun. And don't get me wrong, do not confuse that with a lack of skill. To guard on this game takes a knowledge and understanding of the game, and whereas it's nowhere near as strict as some other games, because there is that startup on it, it makes it just by default a little trickier to do, because it's not as natural and nowhere near as fun in my opinion, but it's still incredibly powerful and a technique I'm going to try and utilise as best I can throughout this game. But there goes Vivi. Here come the nobodies. The nobodies are a little bit tricky. And they're tricky because we don't have any moves, we don't have any real combos, any real way to deal too strongly with them, and they hurt a lot, and we have a very small life bar. So, the way I like to deal with them is I like to come in from a jump attack, if I can, and I like to isolate one of them. I'm taking a few sloppy hits here, so it's not the best performance I could have got, but it just goes to show, when they're trying to attack you, if you want to guard them, feel free, but I had a few opportunities where I guarded and they whipped around the back of me and still hit me, so the guard seems to be directional, and if you're not facing the direction of the attack, you can still take damage, so just be aware of that. It might be just one of those serendipitously unlucky things, but I took a lot of damage here when I didn't need to. But here is Axel. I think Axel is the hardest part of the beginning. This fight here is tricky because of the checkpoint. The fight itself is only tough because of the lock-on and your lacking ability to cover distance. So Axel hops away from you. You can't hop away from him because we're as mobile as a fridge. So instead we have to use what the game gives us to get away from his attacks, which isn't much. So countering here can be really useful, but getting the counter attack can be tricky because he runs away. So you're going to notice that I'm going to use a couple of potions to keep myself alive, and it's just one of those things where I really like Axel and I like the Axel fights, but I think this one is kind of stacked against us. And if we had that ability where Roxas or Sora closes the distance a la like the Stinger to attack an enemy, then this fight would be perfectly fun. But because we don't have that, we have to run up to him and hit him, and as we're doing that, he's recovering and attacking us, and on critical mode he kills you really quickly, and it can be very tricky. But whenever he crouches like that, if you attack him, he's going to teleport and do that move. You want to be aware of it because it does a lot of damage, and he can then juggle you afterwards if you're unlucky. Once again, Axel is easiest to hit and do quick damage with the aerial combo. A lot of your aerial hits will go over his, and if you can get him in that stun, yeah, it can be really useful. But right there, tried to guard, and he kicked my ass. So it's getting a little bit down to the line. So it's win or lose here. I get a little aggressive, get the parry, get very lucky there that he missed me on his little attack. He charges again, does 2 more hits usually after that, but he's doing a different pattern. So here he comes, he misses, and I counter. He dashes away, attacks, gets back in, a couple more hits, and he goes down. That is a tricky fight for anybody, unless you're really, really good at Axel. And the funny thing is, I used to be pretty good at Axel. You'll see some of that coming back in the second fight, but the second fight is an absolute joke compared to that one. When Roxas gets those dual Keyblades and you can do those reaction moves, see you later, Axel. He goes down real quick. But thank you for watching. Good luck with that fight. Just bear in mind you have items, and it's one of those things where if the checkpoint was before him, you'd probably be able to learn him and have a lot of fun with it, but because you have to keep beating Vivi and those fucking nobodies, you just get to the point where you want to end it. You're just like, fuck this shit. So dumb. But thank you for watching. You take care now.